So Sales Copilot, we'll jump right in. Sales Copilot, while it has a lot of AI features, it's really a seller experience application that's meant to help reduce the manual tasks that your sales team may experience today. So manual tasks, it services a lot of the CRM data into applications where your sales team might be spending a lot of their time, such as Outlook and Teams. Really meant to help make them more productive so that they can spend more time selling. So what we're going to look at today is we're going to look at that experience within Outlook and within Teams. So what you're looking at right now is my Outlook in my demo environment. And I received an email from Jeff O'Connor saying that he watched our webinar and he's interested in implementing Sales Copilot. This first email that I get that we're going to talk about it came from a contact that I do not have in my CRM system in Microsoft Dynamics 365. So you can see over here on the right that it's telling me that it's not in Dynamics, but it's giving me the option to go ahead and add that contact. So if I click on Add Contact, you'll notice that it takes a lot of the information from his signature within the email and puts it over here on the right-hand side. And I can go ahead and say save. I can check out the data, VP of Sales. It looks like it got it right. I'm going to go ahead and say save. And it's adding that contact to my Dynamics 365 environment. Now, I also want to save this email. Flip back over. I also want to save this email. When I hit save, it adds it directly into Dynamics as well. Now it's going to save it to that contact, but say I had information in Dynamics already about Jeff. Maybe I had an opportunity or an account. I could go ahead and connect it to that opportunity or that account as well. If any of you are using the Outlook app today, that set regarding feature, it's essentially the same functionality, except you would just click who you're going to connect it to. So I'm going to go ahead and say save without connecting because I don't have any other information in the system about Jeff at this time. So while that's saving, we're going to flip back over to the highlights, and we're going to talk about some of the AI features that are available to me now. Now you can see it says draft with Copilot. And if you worked with any generative AI, it's going to, you know how that works. It's going to go ahead and it's going to draft an email for me. And we talk about this at, Copilot. We say, it's like their assistant, right? It's the sales team's assistant. And maybe it gets it 80 or 90% of the way there. We still want them to go ahead and look at that email, make sure it's correct. That's what we want to say. But it's doing the bulk of the work for them. If you've worked with generative AI, you know that you can come down, you can adjust the draft, you can make it more formal, more friendly. And I might even want to add some details. Maybe I want to say, yes, tell them that I can meet at 4 o'clock today because Jeff wants to meet to talk about Sales Copilot. So as it will learn as well, so it'll learn your style. The more that you train it, it becomes more useful to you. And being very specific and asking your questions and telling it what to do, you'll get your better experience with the AI side of that. But I could go ahead and copy this content and be able to paste that into an email and send that off to Jeff. If your organization is not quite ready for generative AI, but some of the features, you like some of the features that you see today with the integration with your CRM system, Dynamics 365, you can turn off the generative AI features within Sales Copilot. So another scenario that we're going to look at is I got an email from Richard. And I've been working with Richard for a little while. He's been reaching out to us to talk about TrellisPoint doing providing their CRM support, their Dynamics 365 support. Now you notice on the right-hand side over here for Sales Copilot, it looks a little different than it did for Jeff. I have some more information. Here's some more of the AI features where it does a summary of this email thread. So instead of going through here and looking at every single one of these emails, I can come down here and say, oh, okay, Richard asked if we support, so if we provide support services. I answered that we do, and now he wants to meet. So it just gives me that summary of that email. I happen to have an opportunity in the system for this as well. When he first reached out, I created an opportunity, and it's giving me kind of a summary of that opportunity in the system. It's telling me what the last activity was on it, when it was opened, what stage it's in, what's our close date. And if I wanted to save the summary of this email, I can click Save Summary, and it'll save it directly onto the timeline of the opportunity in Dynamics 365. So those of you who are familiar with Dynamics 365 know what the timeline is. But for those of you who don't, this is in Dynamics 365, and this is the timeline. And it shows me that I have an AI-generated email summary from Sales Copilot, and that it was saved here on the timeline. Sometimes when you save a lot of emails into the timeline, it gets, trying to read through that thread, it can get exhausting trying to read through all that. So you just have that summary, it saves it right here. And then collaborate in teams, we're going to come back to that in a couple minutes. Let's go ahead and jump over to the other tab on here that says Dynamics 365. So this is surfacing that data from our CRM system so that we can make that so the sellers be able to respond quickly and know what's going on without having to jump into CRM. This is configurable. So you could bring the data that your sellers are going to need, 80-90% of the time. What are they looking up? It's configurable. You can add entities, you can add, or tables, you can add custom entities or tables. You can control, which fields are being shown here on the right-hand side. It's telling me that this email is connected to the opportunity within Dynamics. Now, if I click on this contact, I can keep some private notes about it, but I can also see all the details about the contact, the opportunities. Maybe there's more opportunities out there. I can see the account, and I can see the last 10 emails or appointments that I've had with this contact. So just at a glance, I see what our activities look like with this particular contact in our CRM system. Maybe I notice that his title's wrong. I have the choice of editing this record right here. I can come in and say, IT manager. I could say, well, maybe he's the director of IT. I could change it right here, save it. It updates it in my CRM system for me. This is configurable as well on whether or not you want your team to be able to update records here. On the account, I am able to update some fields, but I can't update all of them. You can also configure which fields are being shown. You can configure whether or not they can be updated. I'm not able to change the name, but if you notice, if I click on the website, there's a blue line here, and I'm able to change these fields on the account. So very configurable on what you want to allow your team to be able to change when they're within the Outlook application. So we're going to talk about Teams for a minute. You can see down here, it shows Dynamics 365, sales support. What this does is it allows me to set up a deal room for this particular opportunity that I've connected to this email. Or I could have set up an account team in Dynamics, but I have previously set up a deal room. And what it does is in Teams, it creates a channel in Teams that looks like this. So here's the post. You can invite whoever you want to this particular deal room. It starts you out with a few file folders that you might want to use, and it puts in a OneNote. It also, like if I would click on Dynamics, it would show you that opportunity as if it was in Dynamics, the whole screen. And then also any files that would be uploaded here can also be accessed, of course, in SharePoint, but also from that opportunity in CRM as well. Some other functionality that you have within Teams is maybe you want to talk about an account that you're working on with one of your coworkers. But instead of saying, hey, you remember that account? What was it? Aaron Green? What do you know about them? I could go ahead and click Sales Copilot underneath my message. Click on, it's going to bring up any recent records that I have that I've been accessing within Dynamics. I could also search if it wasn't here. I could say, hey, I need to talk about Aaron Green. So it comes up, it puts this card in here, the main information about Aaron. And I'm like, hey, can we talk about this? So we're going to talk about this account. I send that off to him. When Jay gets this, if he has a license into Dynamics, he could go ahead and open it up and he knows exactly what we're going to be discussing. So one of the other features within Teams meetings is you can add, if you have a contact that's connected to a Teams meeting, Sales Copilot will be added to it. And then once you finish that meeting, Sales Copilot will send you a summary. And this is a conversation intelligence feature of Sales Copilot. So you have to record and transcribe the meeting, but if you do, you get this really great summary and recap of the meeting. It'll show, this is a previously recorded demo call, but you can see that it shows us the highlights. This is my initial call with Richard when we were talking about sales support. And it tells us in the different areas, when we explained, here's when I explained the ad hoc support agreement. If I click on that, it changes it down here in this area where this is the recording. And while we're down here, you can see that it is giving us that customer sentiment on positive, neutral, and negative. So most of this call was positive, but maybe, there's this one little negative over here. What were you discussing at that time? So I click on that and notice that this transcript over here switched as well. And it's telling me, I can read this without listening to the recording to know exactly where we had a little bit of negativity on that call. So these work together. I can click on anywhere in the transcript. It'll take me to that point in the recording. I can click over here on the recap, and it also takes me, to both that area in the transcript and in the recording. It picked up a follow-up. I said I was going to send an ad hoc support agreement. So I can go ahead and create this task. I could put a subject in here. If I hit create, it'll create this task in CRM for me, and it'll connect it to that opportunity that's already connected to this particular meeting. It might also pick up some mentions, such as we talked about a discounted rate. And so over here in the transcript, we can see where we talked about the discounted rate, and you can see in the recording, all the little purple icons that show that that's where different areas where we mentioned discounted rate. And the details show or the participants of the particular meeting. So a lot of information here. We actually use this internally. It's great to be able to go back and just get right to the information that we need to get to for that particular call. Now, if we go back over into Dynamics, or not into Dynamics, into Outlook, there is a preview feature that I have enabled in my environment. And I'm going to send Richard an email for a follow-up from our meeting. And notice that over here on my right-hand side now, I have Summarize a Sales Meeting. So I can click on Summarize a Sales Meeting, and it's taking that recap that we recorded previously, and it's saying it's going to do that recap email for me so that I can go ahead and follow up with Richard and get that sent out. Once again, it's like, okay, I hope this email finds you well. I can click on Weimer Plastics, which is the account. I can see if Weimer Plastics is in the system, and it's showing me that it is. And I can adjust it accordingly as well, just like we did on the previous email. But if I decide that this is the way I want to send it, I can say add to email. It puts it over here in my email pane, and I could send it off. So a great time saver. Once again, it's that assistant. Maybe this got me 80-90% of the way on my email, but it's done a lot of the work for me.